Hello, my name is Phil Stoneman, and I'd like to talk to you today about my own experiences of learning languages and also to give you some advice which I hope will be useful for you. Part of the reason why I wanted to create this video is because often people see me as an English teacher and they say, okay, well, of course, you speak English, and yes, you live in Colombia, and you speak Spanish. So, well, of course you speak Spanish. I'm sure learning Spanish was very easy for you because you're a languages teacher and you live in Colombia. What I want to tell you about today was that learning languages was not a natural process for me. I'm not a naturally good language learner. I want to tell you about how I managed to learn different languages. This was me at school. I was not a good student, especially in the language classes. Back when I was at school, we didn't have the smartphones, the computers, the apps that we have today. No, I had a very boring French textbook, and I had a very thick dictionary which I had to look information up in. It really wasn't very interesting. I didn't enjoy it. I really didn't learn much French at all. It wasn't a good experience for me. Really, I thought I will probably never learn languages. Of course, this changed when in 2004 I came to live in Bogota, Colombia. So being in Colombia, of course, I came here with very basic Spanish, but I started to learn more and more Spanish. Of course, it's important to say that when I first came, because I couldn't communicate very well and because most people I met didn't speak English, I had a very lonely time for the first few years. And it was only when I started to study for myself, I started to check things in different books, I started to improve my conversational skills, my listening, talking to people, that my Spanish got better. Thankfully now, my Spanish is pretty good. But really, it was a long process for me to improve my Spanish through living in Colombia. Then I decided a few years ago that I wanted a new challenge. So I decided, as you can see, to start learning Japanese. Now, let me tell you, if you think English is difficult or Spanish is difficult, really try Japanese. Japanese is much, much more difficult. But the reason I wanted to try learning Japanese, or one of the reasons at least, was because I wanted to see the experience that many of my students have learning a language while being apart from the culture. So obviously in Colombia, I don't have the chance to speak Japanese every day. I don't hear Japanese every day. I'm not surrounded by Japanese people. So I wanted to see what that experience would be like and to see if I could learn Japanese in that kind of situation. Oh, if you're wondering, by the way, what this text says, very, very simple. Watashi wa igirisujin desu ga, Colombia ni sunde Nihongo benkyou shite imasu. I'm English, but I live in Colombia. I'm learning Japanese. Very simple. So, how am I learning Japanese? Well, I spend many hours every day here on the Transmillennial. Now, if you're like me and you spend many hours here on public transport, you probably don't want to waste this time. Now, I'm a very busy person and I cannot just throw away the hours that I spend on Transmillennial every day. So I have to use this in the best way. So using my phone, I found a number of different tools and resources which are particularly useful for my language learning. So possibly you know some of these apps. For example, Memrise is a very good way to particularly learn vocabulary and to practice new words. I'm sure you use WhatsApp. Personally, I use WhatsApp in many ways. One of the ways, though, is that I'm in some Japanese groups. So we share information, we ask each other questions if we have, for example, a grammar question in Japanese. And this is a very good way to learn together with people. The same thing with Facebook. There are some excellent language learning groups where people support each other and where they give each other a hand for learning new languages. Hello Talk is a very interesting website where, for example, for me, I register for the site and I say, okay, I'm English and I'm learning Japanese. And on the site, I can connect with Japanese people who are learning English. So I can write in Japanese and they will correct my mistakes. They write in English and I correct their mistakes. As you can imagine, it's a very good way to practice writing and to, again, feel that you're helping someone while you're also learning. Podcasts are also a very good way of learning, and particularly for me, that my listening skills are awful in Japanese. It's very good for me to practice listening to a little bit of Japanese every day through podcast websites and apps. Also, of course, I do have a textbook and I do practice reading. Remember, please, when you're doing reading practice, it's not just to read the text and finished. You should be using the text in the best way. So as you can see here, I've made many marks, many comments, many notes, which help me to improve, help me to understand the vocabulary, help me to understand how the grammar is connected. So when I talk about reading a text, this is what I really mean. You need to use it in the best way. So, as I said, when I was at school, I was a terrible student because really the way I was trying to learn, or the way the teachers tried to teach me, wasn't useful for me. It was very, very boring. The good news is that now that I've learned the best way for me to learn, I'm not a bad student anymore, because now I understand how I learn. So now I'm very happy to say that my learning process can continue in a good way. I want to show you one of my favorite phrases in Japanese. It's a little difficult to translate, but basically it means please try your best, please do your best work. In Japanese, it's ganbatte kudasai. And that's what I say to you. Please try your best. Please make your best possible effort to understand how you learn, so you can learn in the best way and so you can enjoy the process and get the best benefit for you. Ganbatte kudasai. Thank you very much for watching this video.